Welcome to OROWindMap. OROWindMap is a tool that supports the offshore wind planning process in Oregon. It was created by the Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development in partnership with the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management. It's hosted by the West Coast Ocean Data Portal. My name is Marissa, and I help coordinate the West Coast Ocean Data Portal. In this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the basic functions that you can find on the OROWindMap tool. When you arrive at the site, this pop-up will provide a little bit more background about the creation of the tool. I can click anywhere on the screen, or I can click Continue in order to close it. You'll see that the home page for OROWindMap brings us directly to our mapping interface. The goal of OROWindMap is to provide access to the best available data for anyone who's interested in the offshore wind planning process in Oregon. The default base map in order to view these layers is Esri Oceans. However, if I'm interested in looking at a different base map, I can go to the bottom right-hand corner, and I can see there are several other options. Another base map that I sometimes like to use is Esri Satellite. So I can go ahead and select that. You'll also see to the right of the base map icon that there are these plus and minus signs in order to zoom in and out. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer to Oregon. You'll also see that I can use my cursor as well as my keyboard controls in order to move around the map. Below the zoom function, there's a scale that represents distance on the map. There's also this option to provide feedback. If I click on this, it opens directly to a form where if you experience issues with OROWindMap or you have questions about the data that you see here, you can contact the OROWindMap team directly with those concerns so that we can get back to you. Let's take a look at the data pane itself. The data pane is over here on the left-hand side of the screen. If at any point I'm looking at data and I feel like this data pane is actually in my way, I can collapse it with these two arrows and then bring it back. On OROWindMap, data is divided into three different categories. These are biological, human, and physical. If I'd like to expose the subcategories that exist under these three main categories, all I need to do is click on the category itself. If I want to see the layers that exist under those subcategories, again, all I need to do is click on that subcategory. In this case now, I can see all of the bird layers that exist on OROWindMap in alphabetical order. If I'd like to close that, I just go ahead and collapse that subcategory again. If I were to turn on a layer here, for example, let's say the PAC-C all bird surveys, that check mark is going to indicate to me that that layer has been turned on. Then I see that number 1 appear under the active pane. If I want to see all of my active layers together, I go here. I'm going to get into more details about things that we can do with individual data layers in our next video, but for now I'm going to go ahead and move on to just some other brief components of the site itself. You'll see up here that we have logos that represent the different entities who have partnered to create OROWindMap or to host it. I just wanted to point out that if you follow these links, they can actually bring you to some additional useful information. For example, I clicked on the link for the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, and it brings me to their Oregon activities page where I can find things like past recordings of public meetings, maps of proposed call areas, or a copy of the data gathering and engagement plan. If I move over here to the right-hand side, I can find a menu of some other options. So under this About tab, there's a page for offshore wind planning that describes a little bit more about the process for offshore wind planning on the West Coast and the process that's happening in other states like California and Washington. There's also an option to look at frequently asked questions. These represent questions that we have heard a lot in the last year or so since we created OROWindMap, but it certainly doesn't capture every question you might have, and so I would encourage you again to either contact us using the feedback button or via email if you do have any questions or concerns. The last thing I'll point out in this menu is a link to our data catalog. This data catalog represents all the same layers that exist in our map viewer, but in kind of a different format. I'm going to go into this in more detail in a later video, but I just wanted to give you a brief glimpse of it. Clicking on the map button will bring me back to that map interface where we started. And then in later videos, I'm going to get more into the options for groups, as well as creating an individual login. Thank you, and hope to see you on OROWindMap again soon.